Hey class, Prof JC here, and I gotta tell you, the more I dive into this book right here, The Courage to Be Disliked, just the more I am just overwhelmed with how impactful this is. It's deeply impactful for me. I hope it is for you as well. This is a class, again, just kind of review here, but this is a class where we're talking about integrity. And what is integrity? It means to be fully who you are, whatever that is, okay? And I think that life is just, it's beautiful enough that over time that kind of we learn to express ourselves more and more in becoming who we are. It's not something that, hey, when I'm 25, I'll figure out exactly who I am. It's something that is consistently evolving over time, but integrity is being that person, whatever that is. Okay, is living with that. This whole idea of moving towards happiness and how do we seek happiness in life? Well, it's by living a life of integrity. And integrity, again, as we've talked about, it's not necessarily a bad or good thing. It just is. It's you being exactly who you are. Okay. And then out of that, you say, well, why is that important, Prof JC? Well, out of that comes a business that you'll grow. Out of that comes the organization. Out of that will come leadership. Okay. There's another book that that's out there, and we haven't talked about it in this class at all, but it's by Dr. Warren Bennis, and it's called On Becoming a Leader, and it's one of the greatest leadership books. It's the book that started the journey I'm on now, and it made me realize that I want to spend the rest of my life teaching. And what that book talks about is a life of full expression. And a life of full expression, what that means is that you become exactly who you are and you live exactly who you are. But as some of us on the call know, we know that could be one of the toughest things for us to do. And the reason why so many people live outside of integrity is, as we're going to talk about today, it's really a lack of courage. Okay. It's a lack of courage to really be who we're meant to be because of certain things, right? It could be something that happened way back when you were a kid. It could be how you were raised. It could be you're still living for the approval of your parents. It could be you're living for the approval of teachers. Who knows what it is? But for most people, living outside of integrity, for many people is not an easy thing. So I was going to take us into a whole new direction, but these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages here, and I'm on page 36, might be the most impactful so far. And so obviously this book, and it wasn't required reading, so you don't have to get the book, but this book is a conversation between a philosopher and a youth. Okay. And they're having this discussion. They're kind of introducing this idea of Adlerian psychology and the fact that if you've been through trauma in life, a lot of people just use that as an excuse. Now, I'm not saying that. Okay. I want to make that clear. I know there are a lot of people have gone through trauma in life, and it does impact us. Okay. Later on in life. And if we're not careful, it creates patterns within us. But what this book is making the case for is that oftentimes people stay, stuck in certain places, and they use whatever the thing is that keeping them stuck. They use it so they don't have to actually move forward and do something and to live in integrity. Okay, because again, it's difficult to live in integrity, which is why we numb ourselves so we don't have to. We watch Netflix all the time and stay on social media 24/7 and do whatever we have to do to make excuses so we don't have to actually live inside of integrity. Okay. So here's part of the conversation, and I'll just read a few things. I'll offer some suggestion, or I'll offer some questions, and then that'll be our assignment for this week. I really hope that you get this book. I really hope you get this book. It might be $10 on Amazon or something like that. It is a phenomenal book, and probably in future classes, I'm going to make this required reading. It's that good. So here's a conversation. Here's the philosopher speaking to the youth. Okay. And right before the philosopher speaks, here's what the youth says. Okay. In that case, my question is, what are the real measures I should take? What do I need to do to change my life? You haven't explained all of that yet, says the youth. The philosopher says, well, you're right. What you should do now is make a decision to stop your current lifestyle. For instance, earlier you said, if only I could be if I could be someone like Y, I'd be happy. As long as you live that way in the realm of possibility of if only such and such were the case, you will never be able to change. Because saying, if I could only be like Y, is an excuse to yourself for not changing. So what this is saying is oftentimes we stay stuck and we're looking at this dream life and saying, man, if I just had that and I had that job and that opportunity and I could look like that or be like that, whatever it is, okay? We use all of that as a way of keeping us what he talks about in the realm of possibility, okay? Well, I could do this only if I had that. I could do that over there, but only if I had this. Oh, what life could be, right? The realm of possibility. And so that's why I've entitled this one today, The Realm of Possibility versus the Reality of Potential. Okay. Because oftentimes what he's talking about here, what this book is talking about in this chapter, in this segment, is that so much of us stay stuck in the realm of possibilities because we don't want to do the hard work that's required in the reality of the potential. Okay. And so it's easier to stay over here. He goes on down here and then he says this. So this is the philosopher. So the youth says right there, an excuse not to change, right? And the philosopher says, yes, I have a young friend who dreams of becoming a novelist, but he never seems to be able to complete his work. According to him, his job keeps him too busy and he can never find enough time to write novels. And that's why he can't complete work and enter it in for writing awards. But is that the real reason? No, it's actually that he wants to leave the possibility of I can do it if I try open by not committing to anything. So again, he's talking about someone living within the realm of possibilities versus the reality of potential. He doesn't want to expose his work to criticism, and he certainly doesn't want to face the reality that he might produce an inferior piece of writing and face rejection. He wants to live inside that realm of possibilities where he can say that he could just do it if only he had the time, or that he could write if he just had the proper environment, and that he really does have the talent for it. In another 5 or 10 years, he'll probably start using other excuses like, well, I'm not young anymore. I've got a family to think about now. Okay. So he's showing us excuses that we use often for not go. Why am I not building the business that I really want to build? Why am I still stuck in a job where I'm mediocre and I'm not out building the business? Well, we make excuses. Well, I've got a salary, right? And I've got family to take care of. And some of that is correct. Okay. So I don't want you to take this class right here and then go quit your job. And then now you've got your spouse or partner chasing after me because you can't pay the bills anymore. That's not what this is about. But there are other ways. Maybe you've got a dream of starting a job, or you've got a dream of a certain company you want to work for. Well, you keep what you've got currently going on and you start the process of moving in that other direction. That's kind of how it works, right? But we find ways to stay where we are because, again, we're afraid of rejection. We're afraid that we're not going to do the thing well, whatever it is, right? So he uses the example of a person. What do you use the example of? Is it painting? No, what is it? I just read it. See, this is what happens when you get older. Becoming a novelist. So becoming a writer, writing a book, right? But he just uses these excuses. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm too old. I've got kids and all this other kind of stuff. But really what the real issue is for him is he doesn't want to face the fear of rejection. Okay. And here's what the philosopher says. He should just enter his writing for an award. And if he gets rejected, so be it. If he did, he might grow. So that means he's going to become a better writer, right? And figure out what he needs to do better, or discover that he should pursue something different. Okay. He comes down and he says this. Well, the youth says this, but maybe his dreams will be shattered. The philosopher says, well, I wonder. Having simple tasks, things that should be done while continually coming up with various reasons why one can't do them sounds like a hard way to live, doesn't it? So in the case of my friend who dreams of becoming a novelist, it is clear the I, or the self, that is making life complicated and too difficult to live happy. And so what he's saying there is, again, what holds us back oftentimes from living inside of integrity, that means doing the thing that you know that you're meant to do. What keeps us from that oftentimes is that fear. We talked about that, but also it's the selfishness part of it. It's the self. Okay. It's us. And if there's something we're really meant to do, that means that there's a call. In another class, we talked about that, this week, the call. That means that there's something greater out there that's calling you to this thing, whatever it could be. Whatever that thing is, to build that business, to build the organization, to build that nonprofit, to go be an educator, be a teacher, build a school, go into ministry, whatever it could be. You know what that thing is, but you're not doing it. And here's what it's saying. What's really getting in the way is the self and the I. You're letting yourself stand in the way of something where you have the potential to impact lots of people. Why? Because you're scared. And so instead of going after it, and maybe you go after it and maybe you do fail the first time. But again, either you grow or you realize I'm not supposed to do that. So then you move on to something else. But now that's out of the way. Okay. So let's keep going down here. Just a couple more things here, and then we'll get to our question. The youth says, after all of that, right? But that's harsh. Your philosophy is too tough. The philosopher says, indeed, it is strong medicine. Youth says, strong medicine. Yes, I agree. The philosopher says this. Now watch this, because this is important. But if you change your lifestyle, the way of giving meaning to the world and yourself, then both your way of interacting with the world and your behavior will have to change as well. Do not forget this point. One will have to change. You, just as you are, have to choose your lifestyle. It might seem hard, but it is really quite simple. I want to read just a couple more things here, and then we'll get to our questions. The youth then says, according to you, there's no such thing as trauma, and environment doesn't matter either. It's all just baggage, and my unhappiness is my own fault, right? I'm starting to feel like I'm being criticized for everything I've ever done. The philosopher says, no, you're not being criticized. Rather, as Adler's teleology, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, Teleology, teleology, never heard of that word before. I need to look that up. Tells us, no matter what has occurred in your life up to this point, it should have no bearing at all on how you live from now on. That you living in the here and now are the one who determines your own life. So what this Adlerian psychology, and I got to be honest with you, I love this, okay? This book has been good for me. I'm not trying to force this psychology on you, okay? So I want to make that clear. I also want to make clear, I'm not a person who would say that trauma does not exist. And I don't think he is saying this as well, but what he's saying is that there are people who will continue to use trauma from past life, from 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, whatever it is, so that they don't have to do the work right now. And again, that keeps them in the realm of possibility versus the reality of potential. And what this book is trying to get, it's the courage to move forward, to live in integrity. Integrity means that you're living in the reality of potential, that you are doing those things, whatever those things are that you're meant to do, those are the things that you're doing, okay? That you're living inside of integrity, not outside of integrity, but that takes courage. And so again, what a lot of people, and I hear them all the time, I hear these people all the time, trauma. Well, I can't do this. I'm not going to be able to do this because of trauma. And what he's trying to say is, hey, oftentimes that's just an excuse so you don't have to do the thing that you need to get done over here. I would say this, I'd have a softer approach. I would say that trauma absolutely exists. And we are deeply impacted by the traumas that we face, in our younger years. But I would absolutely agree that it's up to us what we become. And if we let that trauma hold us back, then we will continue to live in the realm of possibility versus the reality of potential. Look, man, I'm trying to tell you, I don't want this for you. Okay. I do not want this for you. In the other class that I'm teaching on purpose, I was telling them about these trainings that I do for these companies, these Fortune 500 companies. And a lot of the trainings I do have to do with leadership development or personal development. And in one of the trainings, we start talking about purpose. And it is amazing to me how many of these very educated, these are successful people by all standards. They make good money. They're successful. They work at some of the top companies in the world. And yet they would say, I'm still wrestling to find my purpose. And they would say that I still lack the courage to really do the thing that I'm meant to do. So I keep a job that I don't really like, and I keep a life that I don't really like. And really what it comes down to is just a lack of courage. And they would say that, okay? I don't want that to be you. Now these people are great and they're going to work it out and they're going to do big things. So I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to speak negatively about them, but I've seen enough people down the road who would look at their lives and say, I'm living outside of integrity. And I don't want that for you. So here's the thing that I want you to, and I know we're talking about this a lot, and I'm forcing some of you to go maybe in some places you don't necessarily want to go, but I think that this is really important for us. Okay. So here's the question that I would ask you this week. Okay. Is there a way, okay? Is there something in your life where you're keeping yourself within the realm of possibility versus the reality of potential? And what do those two look like? What does the realm of possibility look like for you? Okay. What are the excuses you use here? What's so easy about that comfort zone for you? Okay. What could the reality of potential look like for you? And let me end by giving you an example. So again, that's what I want you to answer. Okay. What is keeping you, or are you staying, inside the realm of possibility? What's keeping you there? Right. What does that look like to you, the realm of possibility? What's and then just write out what the realm of what the reality of potential would be. Okay. But again, I want you to focus on what's keeping you over here in certain areas of your life. It may not be every area, but in certain areas of your life, what's keeping you in this column versus moving into the reality of potential. The reality of potential means that you're actually living out the thing that you're meant to do. So let me give an example from my own life, because I've been thinking about this and I thought, do I share this with you? Do I not? But I'm just going to share it with you. I have found, so I'm in a season right now where um, I've got a dream that I want to do, and I'm just gonna put it out there. I'm gonna share it with you. I've always wanted to do leadership conferences. That's just something I've been to some of them, and most of them I go to. I think I could do this 10 times better, or I see some that are just phenomenal. I think, oh my goodness, I want to do that. And so if I could plan my life out, I would stay at Point Loma for the next 40 years. My hope is to die here at Point Loma. I'm giving a podcast one day and my chin just hits this desk and I'm out, right? And all the students are, Prof JC, what happened? Where'd you go? Where'd you go? And I exited here and went straight to the other dimension. That's the goal. But part of that is also the consulting work I do that I love to do. It's a huge passion. But I've always wanted to build these conferences. But I got to be honest with you, when I think about them, I can dream them out, I can vision them out. I've got a vision board where I've got these listed out there. But there is something that has been holding me back. And I'm reading through this, and just even today, this morning, as I was kind of going through this, and I would say in recent weeks, this book has really done it's made an impact for me. And I've kind of been looking at my own life. And so as I'm mapping out kind of my life, the thing I know I have to get done first is my dissertation, my doctoral dissertation. But I've faced so much resistance, just inner resistance from that in the last year. And I would find every excuse in the world because I have a very busy life. I've got family and I've got kids and I've got a full-time job, right? And I also do consulting and training. And I've got all this stuff going on. And so it's very easy for me to say, well, that's why I'm not getting the dissertation done. I quickly realized just in recent weeks, because I do a lot of journaling, so I do a lot of reflection, I came to find out the true reason why I'm not getting the dissertation done is because I know that once the dissertation is done, the next thing for me is to now go build these conferences. And I am scared of failure in that area. That's me being transparent with you. And so I find myself, and I'm getting chills even talking about this, I find myself living in the realm of possibilities, right? Because it's easy over here. It's easy to make excuses and say, I'm almost done with my dissertation, but I'm really busy. So that's why it's taking me forever. And I've got all these responsibilities and trying to be a good dad and trying to be a good family person and trying to be be a good professor and trying to be a good consultant and all these things. And so I try to play the victim, right? And say, well, these are all the things that are keeping me from my dissertation. When really, when I did a deep dive on myself, I realized, what's keeping me from the dissertation is I realized that once this is done, and I'm very close to being done, but once this is done, now I got to get to the real goal that I want to get to, and that's to building these leadership conferences. And I'm scared to death because I'm scared of failure. Okay. So this is me as your prof telling you this. And I'm also telling you this as someone who I've overcome a lot in my own life to kind of get to where I am and to live what I think for my own self personally. I live a very good life, and I'm lucky to do what I'm passionate about. I'm lucky to live in my calling. But this other thing is the thing I know I need to do. But I'm scared and I'm fearful. And so I'm living outside of integrity, right? And so for a whole year, even when I'm not really writing my dissertation and I'm finding all kinds of excuses to keep me waiting, that's living outside of integrity, okay? And so I will tell you, just in the last few weeks, I came to this realization myself that what was deeper behind the not getting the dissertation, I'm scared of getting that done and getting the doctorate. And now I've got the thing to go after that I really want to go after, the thing that I feel is my call. I'm scared to death. Anyway, I've talked enough. What's the thing for you? That's what I want you to think of. And I'm just sharing with you my own journey because I don't want you to be scared to think about it from your own life. And don't be prideful and don't be, well, I've got it all put together. No, you don't. I've talked to people much more successful who are working in much bigger companies, who are in bigger places around the world. They say they don't have it all together. So if they don't, I guarantee you, we don't have it together either. So I've shared with you the questions. You can go back and find out what they are. I'm looking forward to what you have to say. I think what we're talking about right now is so important. If we can get this down, it'll be amazing where you go in life. And after this program is done, you'll be able to look back and say, man, thank goodness I learned everything I did from all the professors and all the students, because now I'm on a true path of living inside my own integrity. Hey, thanks so much for listening. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out and I'd be willing to connect with you. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the next podcast. Take care.